In this video, we will have a look at adoption potential in Reefonomics. First, I'll describe the adoption approach, which includes a set peak adoption level and a time to near peak adoption level. Generally, some amount less than the total number of landholders will adopt an action, which is indicated by a peak adoption level. For example, an action may have 100 hectares of available area, but the likelihood that in any one of those hectares the action will be adopted is 77%. This means that ultimately the action will be applied over 77 hectares. The adoption approach also considers the time to achieve that potential peak adoption level, which is represented by the time to near peak adoption level variable. For example, if your action, after accounting for peak adoption level, is applied over 77 hectares and your time to near peak adoption level is 18 years, that action across those 77 hectares will effectively spread out across 18 years. Now let's set up a few scenarios to see how that looks. In the first scenario, we will overwrite the adoption levels and rates we set up in the involved actions and say that actions in this scenario will immediately be adopted by 100% of the landholders. Now we can set up the second scenario to compare. To do this, I'll copy the first scenario. In this scenario, we'll set up the adoption type to realistic adoption levels and rates, which we assign in the action. Otherwise, the scenario is the same as the first. Now we can compare these two scenarios. We can observe here the impacts of using immediate adoption by noticing the significant difference in water quality improvements after 1 year. The 100% adoption scenario has an 8.5% improvement after 1 year, whereas a realistic adoption graph takes closer to 10 years to reach that. Both graphs then flatten out and you will notice that they do not hit the same maximum improvement because a realistic adoption scenario runs out of area to implement the action on. Scrolling up, you'll observe a similar difference between the two scenarios as you zoom into specific subcatchments on the map. So the key takeaway here is that the adoption potential, including peak adoption level and time to reach near peak adoption level, influences the impact of a scenario across hierarchical levels and both in terms of cost and percentage change. This video has been a quick look at adoption potential in Reefonomics.